running a business, right, it's something that everybody wants to do, and everybody wants to make their own money, and everybody wants to that kind of freedom, right? But there are some things that don't really add up, and so I'm gonna give you 10 useful tips that are for new beginners looking to start a business, start a side hustle, start anything, to be fair. 10 business tips that I have learned that can seriously help you when starting your business. So the first tip, right? So tip number one is know the market, know the industry you are going to work in. Know the industry that you want to start your business in. There's no point, starting a business and not knowing information. You must have absolute knowledge of the market you are entering, whether it be the car business, whether it be, technological business, whether it be any kind of business. You must know the basics. It's like the foundation of everything. You want to start from the basics. You must know the cost of it, the benefits of it. You want to know as well the long-term effects of this business, the short-term impacts of this business. What do I have to do for it? How do I start? There's a lot of research that goes into business, and that's why they say running a business is hard. But understanding the main fundamental concepts is the most important thing. So tip number one is to understand the concepts and make sure you know the basics of the industry you want to work in. For example, if somebody wants to be a football coach and they want to start their own football coaching, right? They can't just, it can't be someone who works at Sainsbury's and has zero football knowledge, right? It needs to be, obviously you need to do your research, you need to obviously know what drills you want to do, you need to get the equipment, etc. You need to know work out your costs and everything. So there's a lot of planning that has to go into it before you actually start a business. Businesses don't grow overnight. Businesses can take months, they can take weeks, years, but it all depends on the person. So obviously it is very, how do I say it? Obviously it's very hard running a business, but the main thing to get started somewhere for anyone starting to try to start a business is tip number one, know the basics of the business, know your ins and outs. Tip number two, network. Now, network is extremely important, and I've realized that over last year or something. So you need to network. There's no one business that has grew rapidly, has become amazing from one person. There might be that one standout, but there's always a team, always a team. You need to build a team. You need to network. There's no point. You can't do this, heroic stuff and just go there, YOLO it by yourself. You need a team. You need people, that you can trust. You need people that, you respect them. People that respect you, and then, as a team, it goes much faster. If you work by yourself and compared to a team, it's very obvious that a team would just accelerate. It would just go fast, and as a team, you lot will accelerate each other. So, networking, and there's two types in it. So you need a team. So that's the first important thing in any business. It's pretty much impossible. You can try, but it's very impossible for someone to run their own business by themselves. Just be too much. But having a team with you just makes things a lot easier, makes your business a lot easier. It makes the costs less. It lowers your costs as well. So your average cost would reduce, with the number of teams or employees or whatever, your average cost reduces, and it just becomes much more effective for a business. And networking is very important. So networking, you need to network in business, any business it is, yeah. You need to network, you need your connections, you need the network, you need the people around you, it's not even about networking. You have to look at the people around you, Look at your closest friends, look at the people around you, look at the people you surround yourselves with, and just think, okay, cool, what are these lot talking about, Is this going to make me money, or is this going to start a business, So it's just about the people you are around, the people that are around you are just going to, obviously motivate you and discipline you, and exactly. And then, people say, your network is your net worth. And so it is very important as a businessman, as anyone, as an entrepreneur, you need to network. It's extremely important in this day and age. You can't do anything by yourself. So tip number two was networking and your people. Just getting a good group of people to help you with your business makes things a lot more effective, and it's a lot more quicker in your business. So moving on to tip number three. So tip number three is a very important skill that every single businessman, every single entrepreneur must master, and that is the skill of patience. You know, mastering the skill of patience is the most important thing in any aspect of your life. You know, if you are able to master and control your patience and anything, then if things become a lot easier. You know, even in a business, you know, you got to be patient. If you start a business and you don't see sales or profit coming in within the first 1, 2, 3 months, it might even take a year before you get your first pound in profit. Yeah, you got to be patient. You know, you got to be patient. You got to look at the things you're doing right and the things you're doing wrong, compare them, and then try go move on from there. You know, you got to be patient. You know, people that are not patient are unsuccessful all the time, or most of the time. They're too quick, they give up too early, they lack the discipline, and you know, patience is something that is extremely important for a lot of people. But just overall in a business concept, patience is very important. You know, you can't have a business grow in one night. It is possible, but 99.9% of the time, most businesses do not happen overnight, and roughly, or most of the time, most businesses fail or collapse or don't even properly start off right is because people give up too early, and that's because of lack of their patience. People give up too early because they don't see results, and they give up, and that is a lack of patience. You know, you just got to be patient and you got to put the work in. So that's tip number 3. So tip number 3 was be patient, master the skill of patience. Tip number 4 is consistency. Now, consistency is very important. Along with patience, consistency is another thing that every single entrepreneur and businessman should be able to do. It is a form of discipline. Now, consistency means you're doing it every day, in and out. You know, you got the passion for it. You want to be able to do it every day. You know, if you don't see, like, if you go to, for example, if you go to the gym one day, you're not going to see results overnight, are you? You need to go consistently to the gym. 1 hour, 2 hours is more than enough. 1 hour, 2 at the gym every single day, you know, doing what is needed, you know, take the rest day, whatever. But for example, you go to the gym, 1, 2 hours, come back, you do that for a month and you'll start seeing the changes. The same concept applies to a business. You know, you've got to spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe a whole day working on your business. And you might not even see anything in the first, in that 24 hours, but you know, you've got to go consistently with it, you know. So consistency is a skill that you must do. And you know, people say running a business is hard. Well, if you look at it, running, in the key word in there, running is you're running as a verb, right? You're moving all the time. You're consistently moving. You're consistently running at a steady pace. You're running at a steady pace, right? That relates to consistency. You know, you consistently need to be working at a steady, consistent pace every day, all the time. And you know, eventually a business, and eventually anything can grow from there. You know, if you want to be top of your class, you know, you can't just revise the day before and then hope to get a new start. It might work, but you know, most of the time it doesn't. You know, you've got to be consistent with everything. You need to start from, let's say, Monday. You've got to revise consistently every day, and then eventually you'll get whatever your A star. So tip number 4 is, you know, be consistent. You know, be consistent in your work, be consistent in whatever you do, and your business and whatever you decide to do will eventually, it will all fall into place. It's just a massive puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle. With consistency, it will all fall into place. Now, tip number five for, you know, running a business, starting a business, right, is if you are providing a product, like an object or a service even, right, where there's physical contact between you and the customer, right, you must learn to never negotiate first, never lower the price first. Let the customer put his prices up, and then you can compare from there. This is a business skill that I've learned, and it is super important in anything, right? So, for example, a car business, right, a car dealership, when you get customers coming in, right, you don't want to negotiate first. That is the worst mistake you can do. You're probably going to lose out more money if you negotiate first, if you lower the price first, than you would if you let the customer lower his price first, you know? So, negotiating first, you shouldn't negotiate first. You should always let the customer speak. Always let the customer lower or give his judgment of what the car should be. So I'm gonna give an example. If I was to negotiate first, let's say for a car, if I was a salesperson and I have a customer and we're going to negotiate, and I say first that the lowest we can do is 4,500, he would then go and say, because as a customer, you know, customers want the cheapest things, you know, that's how like supply and demand works. The customer would say, no, I want it for 4,300, and already you're losing money. How can you go up from there? So that's one scenario. And unless the second scenario is that if I selling a car for £5,000 and I go and then I let the customer speak first, and he says he wants a car for 4,500 or 4,300. From there, I can easily say, no, we can't do that. We can say 4,500, we can see 4,600. You are basically asserting a somewhat dominance in that moment of time, and you are showing your customer that you control it, you know what you are doing, and you basically, yeah, so you're just showing the customer that you know what you're doing. And overall, in the long term, you actually are making more profit when you don't negotiate first than you would if you negotiate first. So tip number 5 is do not negotiate first. Always let the customer speak first and let the customer decide. And from there on, you can just build from whatever he says. Tip number 6, right? So tip number 6 is a very important, very important. And this is something that a lot of people learn from a young age. And that is, you know, their friends will say, their parents will say it, you know, their teachers will say it, yeah. That the thing that you should never do in life is never give up, right? But people do give up a lot. A lot of the time, people give up too easily, and you know it's because of all these factors. They don't see results. You know, they don't see any profit. They're lazy, whatever. They just can't be asked. To give up is a embarrassing thing to do. Imagine you go to your friends. You told them a month ago you were going to start a business. You started it, but then you gave up, and then you go meet them again the next month, and you tell them you gave up on the business. It just looks embarrassing and humiliating. You know, you don't want to say that. You know, you want to be resilient. You want to be strong. You know, you want to keep fighting those battles. You know, don't give up. You know, you might not see results in the first 5 years, 10 years, but you just gotta keep trying. You know, you can't give up. An example would be Elon Musk. You know, people. You know, you heard about his he had his rockets he wanted to like launch into space, but he failed 4 times. Cost him a lot of money, cost him a lot of effort. You know, his costs were through the roof. He was nearly bankrupt and everything. But the one thing he said in the interview was that he never gave up. And you know, on the 4th try, on the 5th try, he did his rocket. You know, he learned from his mistakes. Made a new rocket, learned from his mistakes. And on the 4th or 5th try, the rocket was successful. You know, the rocket landed successfully. The rocket flew up successfully. You know, so that's an important lesson. Not just in the business concept as well, but learning just in life in general is, you know, you just never give up. So tip number 6 would be never give up. Tip number 7, I believe, yes. So tip number 7 is to learn to sacrifice. You know, sacrifice is very important. You know, you've got to sacrifice a lot of things to achieve success, and this is the harsh reality of the world. You can't do nothing about it. This is how life is. You can't complain. There's no point complaining. You're wasting your time. You might as well just get over it, and you might as well go and get the job done. Sacrifice could be a lot of things, you know. Someone starting a business must sacrifice, you know, his late nights, going partying out on a Friday, you know, early mornings as well. You know, sacrifice a lot of things, you know, like friends say you want to go out, but you say, no, I just want to go home and, you know, work on myself, on my business, you know, I just want to do something good. You know, those are people that are there's only a small amount of people that think like that, you know, and it's very hard to come across people like that, you know, people that want to sacrifice what they want. As a quote that I heard was that it was like short-term pleasure or something like that, it's not worth it or something, like, you know, like it's only for the short term, you know, but short-term discipline is long-term beneficial or something like that. So, you know, it's just like sacrifice is very important in any concept as well, you know. If someone, for example, somebody wants to be a footballer, they got to sacrifice, you know, the PS4, whatever, the games, the going out with girls, you know, some might even sacrifice their friends, you know. But at the end of the day, if you sacrifice, you know, the things that you love and the things that you used to like, the thing that you like, and you sacrifice them only purely to try and focus on something that you know is better for you and can be better for you in the future, then you should do it, you know. You must sacrifice everything you have to give. Not everything, but you must sacrifice the things in order to progress, as in whatever you do. So, so I would say that sacrifice is very important. So tip number 7 would be learn to sacrifice, and learn to, obviously tip number 6 was learn to never give up. So yeah, so learn to sacrifice and things will come your way. Tip number 8 is a huge killer. It kills a lot of people mentally, and it's procrastination. You cannot delay anything. Time is running out like that. You wouldn't even realize, in a month goes by just like that, and then next thing you know, a year has gone by, and you'll be like, wow, a year has gone by and I've not done anything. Maybe I should start something. Stop wasting your time, on these, useless stuff like your phone and your TikTok and whatever, chat with your friends late at night. Go get that sleep, go do whatever you want. But procrastination is a serious killer. People don't even realize, they go on their phone maybe just to look at one thing, right? And then they're scrolling away for like 2-3 hours, and that's procrastination in a whole, but people don't realize it. Procrastination is a serious business killer as well. People, just get too lazy, and once you become lazy on a small thing, it's just gonna creep up on you, and it's just gonna eat you, and it'll be hard to get out of it. So tip number 8 is don't procrastinate, get the things done, and that leads on to tip number 9. And I think I might have said it, but tip number 9 is discipline. Discipline is a very important thing in your life that every person, every man, every woman should achieve. Like there was a quote that says, discipline, you wouldn't, I think what it was like, you would rather the pain of discipline is better than the pain of regret. Discipline weighs ounces and regret weighs tons. Discipline is very key for anyone. So you want to get stuff done, right? But you don't, for example, discipline will get you further than motivation. Motivation, when you watch these motivational videos and speeches, whatever, you get motivated to do stuff for like 2-3 hours. Maybe you get motivated for 20 minutes, or maybe you might get motivated for a day. But then to continue doing that, right, that's called discipline. That's the thing that people must be able to do. It hurts, and it hurts because the brain is not supposed to do stuff that hurts. The brain wants to be in comfortable situations. The brain wants to relax. The brain wants to do warm showers. The brain wants to, just eat nice food and that. But discipline is what builds a person. Discipline is what takes a person to the next level. Discipline is what brings a business from its 100 to its thousands to its millions. Discipline is very important. So I think this is tip number 8 or 9. So if 8 or 9, I think it's tip number 9. 9. 8, wherever it is, it's discipline. You gotta fully focus on yourself, and discipline is a huge key factor in that. Just discipline is, I want to keep emphasizing it, but discipline is very important. It'll get you further than motivation. So that's tip number 8. Tip number 9 is a very simple and straightforward one, and that is focus on progression, not perfection. Many people say practice makes perfect. Well, that is not true. That is not true at all. There's humans are not perfect. You cannot be. There is no one perfect human being, right? You gotta look at it as progression. There's always something that a person does and that is not perfect. Whatever it may be. All the businesses are not perfect. Every person is not perfect. People are not perfect. You must focus on progression. You must focus on doing it every single day, whatever you want to do, and getting better and better and better and better. There will always be someone that's better than you, and there will always be someone that is better than you, but there is no one that is perfect. You can always build that. You can always progress. So tip number 9 is focus on progression, not perfection.